Islam to the Moors, to the nobility of the land. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is the Thursday call for January 30th, 2020. So today's date is 1/30/2020, which is a great number and a great pattern for us. Let's see.
Affidavit.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and if you all would just *6 so that everyone can hear, that would be great. If everyone would just hit *6, that'd be great. Some of you are already muted, but if you'll hit *6, that way we can hear. Islam.
7 p.m. So we're looking at mostly clear skies this evening, and the drop down in the low is by midnight. Now looking into tomorrow, building in, we're looking at a sunny and dry forecast. 1% the weekend, and then a major shift as enough storm next week. This is going to have more push and more air. We'll walk you through everything you need to know.
Islam enters like
Islam. Okay.
Demunda. That's how her affidavit looks.
Hereditary.
That's what a lot of
Islam.
their affidavits look, and they report it with the county.
On the sun calendar, it is 1439, Justice. On the moon calendar, it's 1440. It was dark before it was day. Islam. Okay. All right, I'm going to mute everyone so we can go ahead and start. Okay. So, Grand Rising, Islam to all. We want to first welcome everybody, every nobility that's here. We're really excited about what's going on in our nation. And today we definitely want to take some time. If you all, if you would be thinking about some of the things that are going on in your present ether, some of the issues you may be having, we want to talk about them today and give you an opportunity to quickly just kind of take about 30 to 60 seconds to discuss what's going on and how we can provide remedy for one another, because we're all in this together. And ultimately, the remedy for any issues that we have lies with each one of us who has the issue, because we're the ones who stand on the law with regard to those issues. And so we're going to assist one another in that manner. That's what this meeting on Thursdays is about, is remedy, remedy, remedy. And so today, the document that we're going to read through that's on the screen is a document that was actually one of our justices, Justice Marcel Maddox Bay. He's one of the newer justices that we have. He was detained in October, November time frame. And while he was in there, and I'll let him tell the story I don't know if he's on yet or not. I can't tell from here. But he hand wrote out some principles that and concepts that he knew to be the supreme law of the land. And when he gave them this information, it's 3 pages of clarifications and declarations and proclamations that he hand wrote out while he was being detained. And that he wrote out was an expansion of the paperwork that we had done And, of course, our court had done a court ruling, a court judgment on those who were holding him, and they had to set him free. And he is on. So, Justice Marcel, do you want to, your document is on the screen so they can see it. All 3 pages is on the screen. So if you want to just read through it or however you want to do it, I'll yield the floor. Islam.
I can speak on it, but I don't have it on my screen. So I'll talk a little bit about it.
You want me to read it first?
That's fine, sure.
Or
you
can
want to do it that way. Or
okay.
you know what, I'll speak first and then you can read it. How about that?
Yes, Islam. I yield.
All right. So as Justice Lay described, I was detained. It was in, I don't even know, I think October, early October. And ultimately, that was after having gone to the tribunal, and I only did the personam jurisdiction statement, nothing else. And while I was standing there in front of him, he could not establish jurisdiction, which meant he couldn't do anything. And he ended up throwing me out of the courtroom. He literally said, "Take your documents and get out of my courtroom." At which point, I did not just leave, because they probably would have snatched me because I would be doing what he said. So I kept doing the statement a few more times, and then I left, and without incident. However, they then proceeded to set a new court date, and when I didn't show for that court date, which they claim that they sent notice to an address, which obviously is not my address, so I didn't even know that they had set another court date, and they then issued a warrant and snatched me up off the street, where they basically ambushed me from behind and grabbed me. And I didn't even know what was going on or who it was or anything like that. So what I'd say is that the personam jurisdiction statement definitely works. If you do that at a traffic stop or something like that, and you only do that, and I'll describe a little bit about what I mean when I say do the statement. You don't look at them. You're not talking to them. They're not talking to you. So you just say it, and you just keep saying it. You don't have to say or do anything else. And you're not responding to them. When I was in court, I did the statement, I don't know, 1 million times. I just kept saying it. And the supposed judge would say, "Well, if you don't stop doing that, I'm going to lock you up. I'm going to send you to jail. I'm going to do this." And I just kept doing it. And what I found was that he couldn't really do anything, but he was making all kinds of threats. So that said, after the second time and they snatched me up, then I'm locked up now, and I'm still doing a statement. Every time I go, I do the statement. They can't move forward. They say, "Well, obviously we can't move forward, so we're going to have to set a new court date." And they would set a new court date, bring me back again. I'd do the statement, and they couldn't move forward. They'd set a new court date. They did that. I probably had about 20 court dates while I was detained. And I was just thinking, you know what? They can't move forward, but they are not letting me go. And I'm not okay with that. So I was trying to figure out how I could force them to let me go. So I was thinking, okay, on what conditions could they continue to hold me? One is if there is any consent. Now, I know that I never consented to anything knowingly, but if they're keeping me, then they must have alleged that there was some type of consent. And sure enough, I found out later on, and I'll get back to that, but I'll say it now. They put on the docket that I was consenting to all these hearings. So consent is the first thing. The second thing is a contract. If they're claiming that there's a valid contract that allows them to violate, then that's another reason or way that they would continue to hold someone. And so contract, consent, And the third is joinder. So joinder, everybody probably knows what that is, but basically that's when they connect you with the straw. And it's really done by consent. Everything is done by consent. So what I had said already by being in propria persona sui juris, proprio solo, proprio heredes, that there is no joinder. There is no joinder. But again, if they continue to hold you, then they're alleging that they have one or all of those three things. So the document that says, let me think, one said corrections, affidavit of status, and then one was, the short one is the one that has only maybe 6 lines on it and they're numbered. And that one is the one that I'm talking about with the what do you call it? With the no consent, which, by the way, they manufacture consent by a million different ways. So they tried, for instance, handing me a stack of papers and saying, this is your copy. And they would hold out their hand as if they're handing it to me and look away, waiting for me to take it. Now, if you take it, you consented because you didn't have to take it. So I never took anything from them. I never answered their questions. I never signed anything. I never even talked to them, really. I just did the statement. That was it. But sometimes they would ask a question, and I would just sit there. Now, what I realized is that when you don't answer, they said at that time, well, we're not hearing an answer, but we're going to take that as consent. Which clearly I didn't consent, but silence is acquiescence, I guess. So I put in the document, if not addressed properly, then I'm under no obligation to respond. And my silence is not consent. So after doing those things, I spent a lot of time thinking about it, and if anybody else can think of anything to add, that'd be great. But what I tried to do was distill what conditions have to be met as a foundational assembly for them to hold you. And I think that's it, literally. Like if they don't have joinder, they don't have consent, and they don't have a contract, they can't hold you. They have to let you go. And that's it, I think. If you can see the screen, then you can, or actually Justice Light, if you want to read through it. Oh, the other thing I'll say is that the reversioner statement is one of the documents. I actually had that with me, so I transcribed that. I did not come up with that myself, but that I felt that was also applicable, so I used it. And so those are the 3 documents. One's the list, one's the reversioner document, and the other one is the notice of status, which basically just explains the personam jurisdiction statement, because there was an attorney there who kept saying he didn't understand what the statement meant, which I understand that means that he doesn't stand under that jurisdiction. Like, not that he doesn't comprehend it, because I was pretty sure that he did comprehend it. But what I did was compile those documents and then mail them to the court, even though the court was in the same building. I mailed them to the court clerk, which then put them on the record, and then they could not run any kind of internal interference. So that's it. I yield. If there's any questions, I'll entertain them, but I yield.
Are there, I'll read through it first, and then also Justice Marcel, if you want to interject any thoughts as I'm reading through it, feel free to do so. Okay. Okay. Affidavit to correct the record. Being of sound mind and lawful age, I affirm the following. I, the living man, Moor, Marcel Maddox Bay, in propria persona sui juris, in proprio solo, in proprio heredes, repudiate and rebut all hypothecation claims made by foreign persons doing business as or associated with the United States Incorporated. I therefore proclaim my sovereign, divine, and natural right to my corporeal and incorporeal hereditaments, and affirm notice and claim reversion of my estate. I, the living man, and rightful heir, am not lost at sea. I affirm and declare my right of reversion of my estate. I make no claim with regard or respect to the title, misrepresented name, man of straw, or nom de guerre, being a title, and the spurious creations of the de facto United States corporate operators, actors, and owners. I rebut any and all commercial actions of the foreign United States Corporation Company and its subsidiaries. I do not consent to stand as surety for the foreign United States Corporation Company, owners, directors, administrators, agents, nor for its subsidiaries or associates at any point or moment in time, nunc pro tunc. In honor always, I am Marcel Maddox Bay, in propria persona sui juris, in proprio solo, in proprio heredes, no United States Corporation Company citizen, agent, successor, or assignee has personam jurisdiction over me specifically and any more generally. All rights exercised at all points in time. And then the next part is well, I just have to, okay, here we go. And then notice of status and standing. Being of sound mind and lawful age, I affirm the following. I am Marcel Maddox Bay, in propria persona sui juris, in proprio solo, in proprio heredes. The preceding statement means that I am a man, moor, in full life, natural person, in law as opposed to at law. Secondly, my deep-held spiritual belief mandate, I am only in propria persona sui juris at all times. I can neither represent the name, and that's in all capital letters, defendant in all capital letters, nor any other spurious creation seeking joinder. Finally, the statement conveys that I am part and parcel, consular officer, government official of the de jure Moorish National Republic federal government, true possessors of the present-day Moroccan Empire and its inalienable, unalienable birthright secured by the Organic Constitution for the United States of America, 1789-1791, and the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, 1786-1836, which is still in force and enforced under the Supremacy Clause of the aforementioned Constitution's Article 6. Any and all contracts this tribunal alleges constitutes jurisdiction constituting jurisdiction are terminated nunc pro tunc. I repudiate and rebut all hypothecation claims made by foreign persons doing business as or associated with the United States Incorporated. I make no claim with regard or respect to the title, misrepresented name, man of straw, or nom de guerre, being a title and the spurious creations of the de facto United States corporate operators, actors, and owners. I do not consent to inducements to fraud. When I, Marcel Maddox Bay, in propria persona sui juris, in proprio solo, in proprio heredes, am not addressed properly, my silence is never consent, as I am under no obligation to respond. All semantic deceit is hereby rebutted, repudiated, and disclaimed, both nunc pro tunc and into perpetuity. All compliance is under threat, duress, and coercion, hence no lawful contract exists. Further affiant saith not. In honor always, I am Marcel Maddox Bay, in propria persona sui juris, in proprio solo, in proprio heredes. No United States Corporation Company citizen, agent, successor, or assignee has personam jurisdiction over me specifically or any more generally. All rights exercised at all times. And then page 3, honorable clarifications. Number 1, I do not consent to inducements to fraud. Number 2, I do not consent to stand as surety. Number 3, I rebut and repudiate all hypothecation claims made by foreign persons doing business as or associated with the United States. That's in all capital letters. And then in lowercase capital U, small other letters, United States Incorporated, U.S., U.S. or any derivative thereof. Any and all contracts alleging joinder of Marcel Maddox Bay in propria persona sui juris, and this is all in lowercase, in proprio solo, in proprio heredes, with civil liter mortuus defendant, and that's in capital letters, are hereby terminated both nunc pro tunc and into perpetuity. Number 5, my silence when addressed improperly is never consent. Number 6, in all compliance is under threat, duress, and coercion, hence no lawful contract exists. Further affiant saith not. In honor always, I am Marcel Maddox Bay, in propria persona sui juris, in proprio solo, in proprio heredes. No United States Corporation Company citizen, agent, successor, or assignee has personam jurisdiction over me specifically or any more generally. All rights exercised at all points in time. Islam, and that's the end of the document that he wrote. And much of what he wrote here, he wrote out, and I saw the paperwork. He wrote it out in pencil while he was being detained, and they can't argue with any of that. Are there any questions about what he wrote to Justice Marcel, who is a justice on the Moorish American Consulate Supreme Judiciary, by the way? And if you want to ask a question, *6 will unmute you. And I'll also be reading questions. Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Just a couple of things I wanted to highlight. One, our personam jurisdiction statement had always been no United States Corporation Company citizen has personam jurisdiction over me. I realized when I said it, I was watching the body language of the prosecutor, and they just felt really comfortable when I would say it that way. And I thought about it for a while, and I realized, you know what? Attorneys are not citizens. They're not. They're actually British agents. And consequently, they need to register with the Foreign Agent Registration Act. I think that's the name of it. So I augmented that statement to add agents, successors, or assignees or assigns. And when I said that, the prosecutor got really uncomfortable and started like squirming in his seat. And he said, "Oh, he's adding agents." It was actually kind of funny, but to me that was feedback that it was the right move to do that. So, anyways, are you?
Islam. If we want to make sure we cover all of our bases, agents, heirs, assigns, principals, in the personam jurisdiction statement, that is how to do it. And while he was in, they were actually coming here because they know he and I work together for the most part. We were working together on a particular demonstration, and I signed some of the documents. So they came here 3 weeks in a row. They came every day knocking. Now, because I had terminated all corporate contracts, they couldn't just kick the door in. I had terminated all corporate contracts on the public record. That is important for all Moors to do. And we can't tell Moors what to do, but Moors, please, if you want to do anything that is really going to assist, is terminate the corporate contracts, and in that same affidavit of termination, step up and say that you're the creditor and you're the heir to all that's on this land. And then you can use all of the resources on the land, you know. So because I'm looking in the chat and reading some of the things. Power of attorney. We really kind of don't like the word attorney when you do, and that's good that you brought that up. But we don't use the word attorney because all power rests with us. So to even say that an attorney has power is a fallacy, you know. So, you know, what we want to do is be sure that we stay away from their words and stick with our diction, because diction determines jurisdiction. That's what the word is for. And so, again, they came here for 3 weeks, every day knocking on the door with a contract in their hands, hoping that a citizen would open the door. And of course, we don't open the door for commercial mercenaries. And so I sat in the window, and they saw me in the window. I took their photograph. I put the photograph on social media of them invading or warring on this land here, because this property is sovereign. And I also put along with that photograph a command to appear in court. Okay? And they were commanded to appear in court. We did an ex parte action because they did not show up, and that just makes our job easy when they don't show up. And we sent the judgment. Now that the judgment is done, we have then sent them. It's an arrest command, arrest and imprisonment command. It's also subject status documents. And either they can sign the subject status documents and put a copy on the public record, or they can go to jail for unlawful occupation of our sovereign original indigenous land. And of course, they stopped coming on the day that it was posted on the public record. And they have not been back since, and that was in November, December last year, or November, December this year for us. Islam. So we have some really powerful tools that we can use. And one other thing that I really want to make clear with regard to what we're doing, in regard to all that we're doing. Someone has I'm going to mute a few people because someone has a radio playing in their background. But there is one other variable, and it's not a variable, it's something that we must keep in mind in this demonstration and in all of our demonstrations, even if we are detained, okay? The one most important, this is more important than anything, the most important demonstration that any Moors can do when they're approached or detained is to remain at peace. I know it may be difficult for humans, but for the Moors it's not difficult. We can do it if we focus on it. No matter what they're saying and doing, when we're peaceful, the results of our demonstrations are undeniably successful. Even if we're not considering ourselves the most competent, if we're peaceful, and that doesn't mean consenting to everything, you can not consent peacefully. You can say, I don't consent to any of that. That doesn't have to be yelled. There doesn't have to be any fighting and rustling and you know, all of that. We don't do that. Nobility doesn't do that. We remain peaceful in all that we do, and that will determine how long we're tested. If we have war energy when we're doing this particular demonstration or any demonstration, if we have war energy, then the demonstration is not going to go well. Why? Because when we are warring and angry and emotion is leading the way, we ultimately will skip something, forget something, a step will be missed or something. Or it will just add some fuel to their war energy. So again, the most important aspect of our whole existence has to be that no matter what, we are peaceful. And that's something that we can all work on daily, hourly, by the minute, by the second, even in our domiciles, et cetera, et cetera. So it's very, very important that that be put forward, and every opportunity that I have to speak, I'm going to put that piece in there if I can remember to do it, because it's more important than any demonstration that we can do, is that we remain at peace. When we remain at peace, even if we're not the most competent, they will still set us free. We've had Moors that happen to many Moors who remain peaceful during any type of violation. Okay? We are not at war. And I'm reading what Justice Gilmore put. Any war we have going on is with the self. Supply energy for all sides. So supply peaceful energy for all sides. Islam, Justice Gilmore. Absolutely. That's more important than anything we could ever do. And Justice Marcel, I have to give it to him. He is peaceful under the most chaotic, seemingly chaotic situation. Very, very peaceful. And so his demonstration had to work because he was so calm when he said what he said. There was no fighting back and all of that. Okay? So, are there any questions? Star 6 with regard to
Yes.
Yes, Islam.
I'm Benjamin Drew Ali, in Northern South Florida. I've been trespassed off of my estate, and they stole my estate, and I'm trying to find out what I do. I sent all my papers to them. I sent them to the judge, and I did everything I know to do. I'm still an infant. I've only been nationalized for maybe a year and a half, and I need to know what I can do with my estate back. Okay.
That's a great question because many Moors are facing that same thing. So the first thing, and this is going to seem a little bit off, but it will make sense later. The first thing is, in anything that you're doing with regard to that situation, first, in order to get the right, the response that you want, calm the energy all the way down before you're doing your demonstrations. When you start to type out your affidavits, calm your energy down so that you can hear what the ancestors have to say. That's number one. Number two, there is, just like Justice Marcel said, there is somewhere in the document or something, they see one of three things, or one of four things really when you consider the energy piece. But aside from the energy piece, just what Justice Marcel talked about initially, either they see consent in one of the documents, or they see joinder somewhere, and actually joinder is like one of the huge pieces. And I could ask you a few questions and then based on your answers tell you where the joinder is so that it can be fixed. Mm-hmm. Okay? So let me ask you just a couple of questions about your demonstrations that you've done so far so that we can find out where the joinder is so that you can terminate that joinder. Okay? The first question is, initially, was the domicile signed for as a nom de guerre? So in a mortgage or a rental agreement in a nom de guerre?
No.
No? It was signed as Moorish American national, in propria persona sui juris, all rights exercised at all times?
Yes. I have my consulate in Nura Bay. She did all my paperwork for me, and I sent them legal notes I sent them legal notice. I sent them termination of trusteeship. I sent notice of moorish American consulate. I sent the one about the notice of our government.
Okay.
I sent like 7 of them. I don't remember all of them right this time.
Okay, so again, when you first moved into that place, were you a Moorish American national proclaimed and declared at that time? When you first moved in?
I never moved in. I've been there for 50-something years.
Okay. Then my question is, you probably, I think, answered it. When you first moved in and signed the agreement to live there, did you sign it as a Christian name?
But see, this was my inheritance. My grandparents had the land first, and I lived there. They died, and so they was trying to get the back taxes, and so me and Nura, she did all my paperwork I needed. I sent the first packet out, and they didn't come there. They didn't do nothing for over a year, and then they had an auction the next year in August, and they had this esquire lawyer paid the back taxes, and then he the one took over and started doing everything, and they wiped out everything I had, everything.
Okay.
Trespassed me off. Using my NOM De GUERRE.
Using your what?
My NOM De GUERRE.
Right. So that's exactly what we were saying. That's exactly what we're saying. I know this is emotional for you, so I know it is, because we see it all the time.
Yes.
The reason they use the NOM De GUERRE, because that's what we were getting at initially, is because somewhere in there is a connection between the property and the NOM De GUERRE instead of a direct connection with the property and a Moorish American national, okay? And because it's a tax situation, that means that the property was not removed from the tax rolls by a Moorish American national who is not taxed. That's why they did what they did, because that piece right there was not in place. Now, one thing I can say about Empress Nura, she's well competent to demonstrate. We did not have the pieces in place that we have in place now. So this was last year, sometime last Gregorian year. Okay.
Yes. They did this. August before that was nationalized.
Okay.
And I sent paperwork, the first paperwork, and then a year later they come up with the auction thing. Okay.
So the paperwork stopped them momentarily because they needed the time to look at it and see. And actually what they're doing is giving us time to stand all the way and be competent in what we're doing, because this stuff really should have been done 100 years ago. But today we have the concepts that we need to better position ourselves to keep the property. So again, somewhere in there, and you've already pointed to where it is, the property was not removed from the tax rolls by a not taxed Moorish American national, because they know we're not taxed. But we have to be competent to remove the properties from the tax rolls. Now, as remedy, the termination of all corporate contracts, and then also we send that termination of all corporate contracts to the Tax and Revenue Office in Washington District of Columbia Territory that we send our liens to, the same place we send our liens to, because all tax assessors, everything that has to do with tax on this landmass where property is concerned is handled, that's the head. Okay, so we've liened them and then put them, we've put them in their proper subject status, and they're doing as they should. So again, everything, look to the hill Capitol Hill and the 7 Hills in D.C., they are only supposed to be operating in that 10-mile radius. So everything that's being done outside of that starts there. That's where everything, the fraud starts there, and it also ends there with the Moors.
Okay.
So what needs to happen is, you're not still in the domicile, is that correct?
Oh no, I've been away for over about 2 or 3 months.
Okay. So here's my suggestion of what to study so that you can demonstrate it. Universal, sovereign termination of all corporate contracts. And we have those copies of those in the Moorish American Consulate Facebook pages. There's a file section in Northeast, and there's also some documents that are uploaded to the Moorish American Consulate public records page on Facebook, on social media. If you can get to that social media page, all you have to do is go on social media and search Moorish American Consulate public records, and it'll come up. Okay. There are some documents. The documents are there. There is a termination, universal sovereign termination of all corporate contracts that I've done. I've put it on the public record and posted the link on social media as well, so people can see it and take it word for word, so that you can, edit it according to your study. So all corporate contracts must be terminated with the nom de guerre. That's number one, because the nom de guerre is where the problem is. Now that doesn't mean that if you get Social Security or you get something like that, that you stop that. It's not going to stop that. When you terminate the corporate contract with the nom de guerre, that just means that all of the benefits that you get then become yours by way of the fact that you're the creditor to that stuff anyway. They're using your estate. So that reversion of the estate must happen with all Moors. We must terminate all corporate contracts and step up as the heirs and the creditors. That's number one. Mm-hmm.
I did a handwritten one.
Okay.
It's long.
You said, will the handwritten one do?
Yes, I did a handwritten universal termination of all corporate contracts.
When was that done?
A couple of months ago.
A couple of months ago?
Yes, I still got some copies. I sent it to the judge, and the judge that was presiding over it and all that. I sent the lawyer. I don't know if I sent him the termination, but then I had a driver's license thing come up, and I did it there too.
Okay, so that's good that you did that. Know that they're not judges, and they're not real judges. They're administrative clerks to the estate of the Moor. Yeah. So, that acknowledgement of them, make sure that concept is clear with you. That they're not judges, they're not lawyers, they're none of that. Those are that's the fraud. They are administrative clerks, and when we send them a command, okay, they are to do what clerks do and do the job that the Moors tell them to do. So then, that's number one. And then number two, the property needs to be removed from the tax rolls altogether. And that entails the following. A universal sovereign declaration of sovereign property and removal from from the tax rolls. And that's something that you can craft, okay? And the purpose of that is to tell them that that property is allodially titled. Do you have an allodial title to the property?
Yes, they have a copy of all of that.
Okay, it needs to be removed from the tax roll. See, when they see that stuff, then they start looking for, all they do is look in their system and see, has everything been done? That's all they do. And if it hasn't been removed from the tax roll, then they're like, okay, well, the only way we can get this is by taxes. So we'll just do it by taxes. So you need to remove it from the tax rolls and send that to the same place we send the liens. Lien the tax assessor in that area.
Okay.
And then you tell when you lien the tax assessor and you do a universal sovereign affidavit to remove the property from the tax rolls, because it's not in their Cetus trust, it's in the national trust of the people, who are the Moorish National Republic federal government. That's the sovereigns, period, the Moors, all day, every day. And when it's in that trust, which is a de jure trust, then it belongs to the people and not to any corporation. And you let them know that, and then you send that same thing to the tax assessor, letting the tax assessor know that the Office of Tax and Revenue and them they need to talk, because the domicile has been removed at your command, and that they are to remove the domicile from their tax rolls and any other rolls that they may have it on. Okay? So that's the latest step that we have that also will assist us in reversion of estate. Okay? And it's not a tax registry. Okay? Registry and regis is indicative of the British and the Queen, corporation, et cetera, et cetera. Okay? So we don't really need to do anything where we don't register with the Service Corporation. We're out of that system, and that's actually what each of our affidavits are saying to them. This is a command, it's not a request. This domicile has been removed from your tax rolls, and you are to do as commanded. So that needs to go, again, both to and lien the tax assessor, lien anyone else, whoever it is, that attorney who claimed to pay fiat for allodial property needs to be liened as well. So you can put them all on the same lien.
Okay.
And then you let all of them know they've been liened, and that tax and revenue, and that our tax and revenue office in District of Columbia Territory will be removing it from the tax rolls as well. And all of these fake, like these tax assessors, and they're all clerks too. Yes. And they answer to D.C., and D.C. answers to the Moors.
Okay.
That's why we let them come there and do 10 by 10 by 10 miles radius of, that's where they live. That's where they're supposed to be. And so all tax assessor office answer to them. And so that is the remedy that you should study. Okay? This is my suggestion. Study it, study it, study it, and then do it. And then let us know how it goes. Okay?
Okay.
Excuse me.
This is Islam.
Islam, this is Minnie Price Bay out of Detroit, Michigan. I'm dealing with the same issue. And what I received back from the tax assessor was my property was still listed as resident. And I know residents mean corporation. Yes, so how do I get my property out of that resident status?
Same thing that we just told the other consul.
Okay. Okay.
Now, know that you all are judges and consuls too, so your orders are judges' orders or justices' orders. We are justices. They are fake judges, administrative clerks actually. They're not even judges. But so the same thing that we just told him is the same thing that you should do. That we suggest that you study it and then do it. Study it first so that you can stand on that demonstration and then do it. The word residence, really, they just, and we already know they're spurious and they just smash things together and pull things apart. The word residence really is res, R-E-S, space, ident, which means you identify, and we know the word res means property, just like res, there's a term that they use when they're litigating over property. It's res something. I can't think of the name of it right now.
Not res judicata, is it?
No, res judicata means judgment on property. That means they don't have any jurisdiction over Moorish property. That's what res judicata is.
Are you referring to lis pending? Lis pending?
Yeah, something like that. Something like that. It's something like that.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Islam.
What was that word again?
That word is it's les pendens, but we won't be doing anything. You're not going to do anything like that with your property, because les pendens means that you're still tying yourself to a nom de guerre. That is a sovereign, and there's no such thing as a sovereign citizen, but that's a citizen action when you claim to be the authorized representative of a les pendens. So that's not a. So again, what you should do is Islam.
Yeah, can I reflect over what you went over with him and make sure I have my ducks in order here. First, you say you're going to do the tax accessory. You're going to lien them because I've done everything. Right, lien. I got my loader title. I sent in removal of property from the corporate status. And I sent in my loader title, all this along with that together. So I really, only thing I haven't done was to lien the assessors.
You need to lien the assessors and any realtors or anybody that's claiming that. Lien them. Lien everybody. Okay. And I'm
still in my domicile.
Islam, and you'll be in it. Just continue to demonstrate.
Yes.
And that is a declaration that we're putting into the ethers in support of all the demonstrations of all the moors. With regard to your allodial title, be sure that your allodial title does not attempt to represent a nom de guerre, because I've seen that on allodial titles, and that means it's not allodial. The nom de guerre cannot grant a property to the living because they never owned property. Okay?
So I did my loaded title from the template from the consulate.
Perfect. That's good.
From the consulate website. All my documents came from, I've been with the consulate for over a year now, so all my documents come from the consulate. But I do have a question with far as do my documents need seal or do my appellation and my thumbprint is good as the seal, or do I need the seal on my document?
You know what, Empress? We tell everybody, as many people as can get the seals, get them. But your thumbprint is even higher than the Moorish American consulate seal. Because it's yours, it belongs to a sovereign, and our seals are sovereign as well, and they recognize our seals because they see them so often. But Empress, if you got a seal on one of your documents, it seals all the rest of them.
Islam.
But again, your thumbprint is the highest seal in heaven and on earth. Islam. So again, that seems to be the running theme with regard to the properties. And if Justice Marcel, if you want to add a little bit to that as well, feel free. Any of the justices from the consulate who want to interject, please do so. Go ahead. There was someone who had another question or comment.
Yes. Islam to all Moors.
Islam.
This is Appalachia's Balance Day calling, and what I was listening to with the first caller and the last one that just got off, we also got to take this in consideration as Moors, that we, and I'm only going on what I've been through my experience that I'm going to share with all Moors. There's a lot of ways to skin a cat. It's not just only one way. You just got to find the best method for you, and if it works, run with it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because a lot of us, I notice, by me coming into this great overstanding as a Moor, I've been through a lot too. But you know what? Everything I tried, when it didn't work, it always eventually turned out in my favor. Because you know why? I always put my frequency out into the universe, and it would be answered. So no matter what you go through as a Moor, and you're just coming into this awakening, because a lot of us are under a deep spell, and especially for the males and the men. Let me correct myself, not males, men versus the woman. You're going to get more attacks and more challenges than the woman, because most time when the woman set forth anything, the challenge, whoever she challenges, she comes with an energy that's already taken from a person that knows she's not to be played with. So versus the male, let me correct myself, not the male, the men, they definitely going to challenge you and try to throw you off your square at all costs, because to them, you don't even post a notice. And once you get the understanding on how to approach things as a Moor, now you become, you know what? You're a threat. So once you understand that you know that you are a threat, you got to be more humble and don't get egotistical or get, like into your warrior mode. You got to be peaceful with it. Like one of the Moabite women said, Queen Valerie, I used to listen to her way back. They will give you a window, and you should be able to pick up that window. And when you see that window, you're supposed to go through that window and exit out of there, no matter what. They ain't going to do nothing to you. They just testing you, because they already know at the end of the day who you are and who they are to you. So some of the times you might feel scared, but that's just a learning process. You're going to have to go through that. All of us Moors are going to have to go through this learning process. But after you go through a certain amount, it's going to fade away. Then you're just going to be like, it's easy street for you. And another thing, with these properties, we have to take this in consideration from what I've been doing my studies on, is that we got to also realize we got to really study about minerals, land rights, to the point when we have these type of properties in our possession from a NOM DE GUERRE person that hasn't found out that they are Moors, you can never put yourself on documentation with a NOM DE GUERRE. You got to keep yourself and your new Moorish nobility title. And like how the great sister Light says, you have to go back and undo all the contracts as a Moor, so you could tie yourself out of those binds, because they look for things. That's why they give you time. They're looking and doing their homework as well, because they already know they lost. They don't got it. They trying to see how much you know and how much you're going to come with, and see if you're going to fold under their pressure. But like they say, the first one to throw the towel in loses the game. It's like chess. That's why all of us need to study chess. And when you get a strategy, right, once you get your strategy, it takes time. You will always have a good outcome with your strategy. And that's what you run with all the time. Because I've been in places where I never even noticed. I never been through the experience, but coming through the challenges and going through different things and seeing other Moors that was already in this great understanding, showing me things, and then I seen how things work, I started doing my own strategies and presenting things, and I see it works for me.
Islam. Thank you for that, Islam. That's absolutely correct. And even with regard to the nobles versus the empresses, and not versus, but along with the empresses, Energy is everything when we're doing our demonstrations. I don't care what they're doing, if they have you, you know, if they're attempting to gain jurisdiction, whatever it is, energy is the key. Once we keep that energy peaceful, they don't know how to really respond to peaceful energy. They want people fighting and doing all this. And like even when they detained me back in 2017, when he held me and had my arm, you know, he was saying, put your hands behind your back or whatever. He specifically bent my finger to see if I was going to fight back, you know. And, of course, we don't do that. We don't do that. We're noble. Let me tell you a little something about noble, okay. There is, and some of you have heard this before, but I want to make sure that we look at a periodic table of elements so that you can see that on the furthest right hand of the periodic table of elements, there is an element called a noble. What is the characteristic of the noble? The reason that it's on the furthest end of the element table is because it is most alkaline, meaning not acidic, and it is non-reactionary. It's inert. That is what we are made of. That's why we're called nobles, the nobility. And all we have to do is tap into that right there, and all else will fall right into place.
And also, I wanted to just make a quick thing. I'm going to get off.
Quickly.
I just want to say something. What you're saying is 100%, and we all got to get this great understanding with that. But I've been dealing with some stuff with, like, taxes and stuff, and I'm going to share this with all Moors. Wherever I go, I don't get taxed for nothing. I enforce the taxes on them. I pay no taxes at different places that I shop at, like Costco's. They got a card that they gave me, that I made them give me, that says American National. Now, show me how many more that are on this call that shop anywhere you go. Not to put you down or nothing, that you're able to enforce that you're non-obligant to pay any taxes with these places. You know, that's to show you that. That's to show you
everybody on this
how
call
much
can
stuff
do it.
we got going for us if we do what Noble Drew Ali told us that he already put forth. All we got to do is enforce it. Okay?
Islam. Thank you for that.
Gold and silver. Use that gold and silver. That's another jewel, silver. In these courts, these fictitious court, they can't deal with you with gold and silver documentation.
That's why we don't go to their courts. That's why we don't go to their courts.
We don't even supposed to be in there. Yeah, we don't even supposed to be in there.
Nope. Because
we got to get challenged. We can go in there if they summons our appellations. We don't really supposed to go in. We're supposed to deal with them through the postal system so we can hem them up.
And I'll stop you there. Let's hold for just a moment right there.
I ain't mean to say. I just had to share that with all more. You know, because I've seen it work. All right.
Yes, Islam. They cannot summon an appellation. They can't do that because they're gonna put some stuff in all capital letters, and that's still not us. They can't talk to us. Islam. And so,
question.
Yes, Islam. Go ahead, nobility, with the question.
Empress Light, this is Nana Bay. I was attempting to get a location where you could locate an example of one of the Universal Sovereign Declarations of Sovereign Property Study.
Sovereign, I'm sorry, what was the name of it? Say it a little bit slower.
To send in the Universal Sovereign Declaration of, the Universal Declaration of Sovereign Property, reference getting it off the tax roll, example of that I could study.
I'll have to put that example is at, this is the deal. I don't have an example yet, but If you look back at the pattern of all of our affidavits, you could actually write it yourself. But I am going to put an example out there because we need some templates that the Moors can look at and then do with it as you will. Edit it to your liking and put your sovereign study and trust on it. We don't have an example right now because that's actually a new step that we're implementing at this time. Now that we have gotten them that office doing what they should be doing. Okay? And so we have to put that out there. But essentially, this is what it will say. Okay? It's going to say that whole first paragraph of we are the original indigenous sovereign Moorish American nationals. We are the heirs to all land, all natural resources, all commerce. We are decidens spiritum return to leve. We are, we tell them who we are first so that identities are established. Then we give them the command of the following allodial original indigenous land is hereby, because see, we're the ones doing the removing. We're not telling them to do it, we're doing it, and then we give it to them so that they can correct their stuff. Okay? So it will just say, and you say, this is the allodial original mailing location of the property, and then you give latitude and longitude as well as a mailing location, and you tell them it's not in their trust, it's in the trust of the people who are the Moorish National Republic federal government, because you're part and parcel of your government also. And then if you have a trust of your own that you put under there, but as long as your trust is not connected to a 98 number or EIN or anything like that, because that's their stuff, that's not our stuff. That's theirs, and that's what they tax. Yeah. That's why they issue numbers, is so they can tax, and they don't have a right to tax the Moors, so we don't attach anything to those numbers. And then your allodial original indigenous trust, declaration of trust with that property in it, okay, with that property in it. And then you have them to remove it off of the tax rolls. Okay, and you give them the command that it be removed off the tax rolls. If I muted you and you have a question, star 6 and unmute. There were some calls that were registering with some background noise, and I wanted to be sure that the Moors could hear, so I just muted the ones that came up with background noise. But please, star 6, Noble Nana, so that you can so that we can be sure that we answer the question. Star 6. So again, you want to notify, you're doing the commanding. You are commanding that the property be taken off the tax rolls, and your document hereby commands that the property is being taken, it has been removed from their tax rolls, and you just let them know. This property has been removed. It is allodial original indigenous and sovereign, and it is in this trust, because addresses, and this is something that a lot of Moors may or may not know, all addresses live in Washington, D.C. with the corporation, okay? Just a moment. Just a moment. Just a moment. Okay. All properties all addresses come from D.C. That's why we don't have addresses. We have mail-in locations. And so you tell them that your property is not in D.C. It is an allodial original indigenous sovereign property with this mailing location, and it is hereby removed from their tax rolls, and you let the tax assessor in D.C. know. That's the same place we send our liens. And then you also let the tax assessor that you've liened in that territory know that you've been liened, you should be using gold and silver is not taxed. That's the reason why the corporation has a problem with everything being gold and silver, because they can't tax it. They can't even control it. They can't even hold it. They can't do anything with gold and silver. It belongs strictly to the Moors. And that's why we're making the steps and moves that we're making as a nation, where gold and silver is concerned. Okay? Noble Yakub, I see what you're saying. Sharon Tracy Galbay, sending some love. Okay. We love you too, you know that. Let's see. I'm trying to get to Noble. Oh, Empress Fatima. Well, you posted that. Maybe it might have been meant to be in a chat, but I took that for my own. I love you too. Islam. Okay, Noble Yakub, I'm going to unmute you. Let me just find you on the list here so that we can be sure that we have answered thoroughly the questions. And the questions seem to be the same, you know, about the properties, and that is where we are as a nation, is we're possessing our estate the way we're supposed to be possessing it. And so I'm sure that that's why that keeps coming up. Okay, I believe I found you. Let's see. Noble Yakub. Noble Yakub, can you hear? I can hear you. If that's you, I can hear you.
That's me, Empress Islam.
Islam.
My questions were posted. I was wondering if you can just send me the information in a private email, or can I just call you? Because there's some other things I'd like to share with you.
Proceed, brother. What's your question?
That's not well. I'm trying to set up an account under my state name, under my nationality name, but they would not allow me, even though I have my nationality papers and I presented them. They said they didn't count, that I had to have an ID or a driver's card with that name on it. Even went to the point where I began to demonstrate, and they called the police on me. But the officer there told them, the head officer told them that I was correct, just to, you know, leave the premises for right now. But they would not allow me to open up an account for an estate I need to set up. A bank account. Hello? I can't hear you. Yes, ma'am. Yes, it's loud. My phone is not powering up. I have to buy another phone. It's been like that for 2 days.
I'm not hearing anything either.
I can hear you now.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Hello? Yes. I can hear you all, but I can't hear.
This is Justice Marcel, Maddox Bay.
Okay.
That whole piece is something that's actively being worked on. If Justice Light was on, or Chief Justice Light was on, she'd be able to give you a little bit more detail.
All right.
I think you probably sounds like you were doing a competent demonstration if the policy enforcers did not give you a hard time.
Correct.
There were some pieces that needed to be addressed in terms of the banks, and that part is actively being worked on. So,
okay.
I think soon those impediments will diminish and probably go away.
It's fine. Okay.
And that's the best I can tell you right now.
Okay, I have one more, brother, if you have time. Also,
Sure.
I have pending. I'm not sure, but have pending charges. Due to I guess, ignorant of the law at the point in time. I had a USCC, a concealed weapons car under the Second Amendment, but however, I was stopped on a traffic stop as far as the tail light was out, and he confiscated my weapon, which was a legal weapon, but he got me for illegal carry. And I'm facing some charges on that. However, I did what I was supposed to have done. I went to the first trial. I told them I was a moor. They told me to take my paper and hand it to this guy, and I haven't heard anything back from no one. I went and talked to the senator of one of the senators of South Carolina. He told me to bring all my cases to him, and he would try to take care of it. But I want to see what I can do and what I should do. It wasn't I didn't have a weapon to do any harm. I was protecting my business and my patients and the house and the people that I take care of. She suggested I had got some protection because I carry around a lot of money. I carry around a lot of money, maybe 1,000 plus every day.
Mm-hmm. Well,
so I'm dealing with that. Okay.
Right. Well, the first thing I'll say, and that's more a concept thing, is that you couldn't have any charges because they only can give charges to a NOM DE GUERRE or a name in all caps. It can't be you.
Okay.
If you're in propria persona sui juris, it's not your charges. So that's the first thing, and that is a jurisdictional statement or question, and they really can't move past that. Now that said, it sounds like I'll say this. It's really easy for them to induce us to fraud by having us step out of our nobility and doing things that citizens would do.
Correct.
You don't need to go to a politician or someone like that. From a conceptual standpoint, if in fact these things are true, which they are, and that is that since 1871, everything in their system has been a corporation. With the Organic Act of 1871.
Correct.
Corporations cannot be party to the original Constitution and or part of the Republic. They're all democracy, and that's the opposite of the Republic. So those guys, one, have been leaned by our government, and as such, they're just kind of placeholders and actors. So if you know that, then you only address them with proper paperwork, with letterhead, and or from an allodial perspective, and it's only to tell them what they're supposed to be doing with commands.
All right, thanks so much.
Know what I mean?
Yes.
No problem.
Islam.
Islam.
Thank you so much.
Islam, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question. I'm about to file for my Social Security, and I know I have to file for it in the straw man's name. Fourth ID, do I need to go and get a ID, a straw man ID as misrepresented, just use my sovereign appellation ID.
Islam. It's just as light. Sorry about that. My phone died. I apologize for that. Okay. With regard, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Anything that you do with regard to that straw, okay, you're not going to really, okay, let me explain this properly. The first thing you want to do is, again, terminate all corporate contracts. And step up and say that you're the heir, okay? And that document is on the public record. We have that out there so that you can use it. And then what you want to do is you don't want to fill out their application. You want to take their application and look at it. And on Moorish government letterhead, what you can do is tell them that you're who you are, you're a Moorish American national, et cetera, et cetera. However, the resource, and this is something new that we just, have just come into in terms of as we take the steps the ancestors are giving us remedy. You tell them that, okay, anytime in any document when you reference the nom de guerre, you're not really going to reference the nom de guerre. You're actually going to put it in lowercase letters. Anytime you reference the nom de guerre, you're going to put it all lowercase. And when I say all lowercase, not even the first letter is capitalized. All of it is lowercase.
Okay.
And then you say, this is not me. This is the resource. I'm the Moorish American national. My appellation is this. I am a sovereign original indigenous Moor. I have no corporate contracts. However, this resource under this name, and you put that name in all lowercase letters, that's not your name. That's what the resource is listed under. That is the resource name. It's not your name. It's the name of the resource. You're the source. And you just tell them everything that they're asking for on the application, you want to put it in allodial terms in an affidavit. In all lowercase letters, our affidavits will not use capital letters at all from this point forward because we've done the study on that, and that is an automatic invocation of sovereignty when you use all lowercase letters. No, not even the first letter is capitalized. And that's how we speak to them by affidavit. And everything that they're asking for on there, so again, where they're asking for a name, you want to tell them that you're a Moorish American national, and the resource name is whatever that nom de guerre that they hypothecated is. But you're going to put that in all lowercase letters too, because they were never supposed to capitalize that at all. And for many of us, that's how it looks on the birth certificate, which is the hypothecation. So then where they ask for an address, you don't have an address, so you just put on your affidavit, mailing location is, and then you notice the way we note mailing locations, care of, et cetera, near such and such territory, okay, like that. So certain things that they're going to be asking for, you're going to address it in your affidavit, and then you're going to clip that application that they have to the affidavit so that they know that this is what the affidavit is addressing, except that you're addressing it as the creditor and government official and not the debtor.
Okay, so my question is then, when I'm addressing the straw man on that affidavit, I print it out in lowercase letters.
Always in lowercase letters, and again, that's not you. That's
correct.
That is the resource name. That's the name of the resource that they've been using. Okay.
Well, do I put the square brackets around that name? Would that help using the square box bracket technique?
You can put the kill brackets around it because again, Yeah, that's not the living man either. Even in all lowercase letters, it's still the resource.
Right. Okay. Well, that's good enough. Okay, I got you.
You can put the kill brackets around it or not, whichever you prefer. Because at the beginning and end of the day, that's not the source either. You're the source. You're the creditor. You're the heir. You're the beneficiary. Okay. And our appellations never are in like brackets or anything. It's just in all lowercase letters.
Okay.
From the beginning to the end. Does that answer the question?
Yes, it answers the question. I just have one more question.
Sure.
Prior to getting acquainted with the North American Council, I filed at the county office affidavits of ownership to a name. So up under common law, that covers copyright also, right?
The common law is for the common man, not the noble. Now, where we're going to use the common law is when we're judging the common people. That's the change that's happening right now, is we're beginning to judge them. And when we judge them, we can't judge them with the law that we save ourselves with. We do judge them with that too, but we judge them with the common law. So right now, when we're getting what we need, we use our supreme law of the land when we're talking about us. And so that's what you're going to use when you're saving yourself. Okay. So don't go to the common law, because when you look at common law versus the supreme law of the land, common law is all subject matter.
Okay.
It's not supreme law of the land and jurisdiction. And in order for us to move out of that system, jurisdiction must be first in all that we do. We have to come out of the system first with the termination of all corporate contracts and everything. Then we can begin to tell them, okay, this is how you use that resource. With that name that you all capitalize, that's not me. And this lowercase one isn't me either. That's the name of the resource.
Okay.
The sovereign resource that belongs to the moor. Islam?
I understand. Thank you.
Yes, Islam. Hopefully that answers the question.
Yes. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Islam. Are there any other questions? Islam.
Yes. Hello, my name is Mikael Charles Sanders Bay, and I'm 25, and I'm a new noble, and I'm just trying to find myself proclaiming. I actually secured my estate the proper way. I proclaimed my nationality in 2018, and I was harassed, basically charged with a DUI. Afterwards, driving. I had my nationality papers with me though, but I was driving. I was traveling in my car, and none of the information. Like I'm listening to you guys, and you said that. Some of the stuff is still in their commercial venue, so I haven't fully, taken back my, my property. But I was charged with a DUI and spent 9 months in jail.
You were not charged with a DUI. Just know that.
Okay. Yes. They charged me. They charged war.
They charged the NOM DE GUERRE, the corporation, the all capitalized name. They charged that, not you.
Yes.
You don't know.
So
all that stuff we did to you for all those months. If you don't know, they discriminated.
They proceeded to put me under some policy of probation. And like I was saying, I have my proclamation papers.
The senior one in there.
And I'm just trying to get my
Is that someone talking in your background? Is that someone talking in your background? Or okay, all right.
No.
All right. Okay.
Go ahead.
So I'm trying to get my nationality card. I have an invoice in my email about the nationality card.
Discrimination.
And I'm ready to receive that. So I'm asking, where do I go from that step? Now, I also wanted to secure the copyright
Okay, hold on for just a moment, because someone's talking and I cannot hear. Hold on for just a moment. Let me mute them. Just a moment. Let me mute that person. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry, Noble.
I was trying to, me and a partner of mine's, I was trying to look into the AA 222 141 copyright, because we proclaimed our nationality, and we have the nationality card. I have a nationality card coming in the mail, and we just wanted to know where should we go from that point.
You want to know where to go to mail them?
No, where to go from that point. We're studying. We're trying to understand and overstand the procedures, the process, and receiving the copyright, the AA 222 141, and just moving from that point on.
Okay. Know this about copyrights and things like that. We did not copyright AA 222141 because you really kind of can't copyright it. When it's in lowercase letters, AA 222141 cannot be copyrighted. So you can use it freely, the AA 222141A1 true. That is a de jure number, code, alphanumeric. It's de jure. In lowercase letters, it's de jure. When they put it in uppercase letters and do all of that stuff, it's, we can use it then too, actually, because it's still a resource on our land. However, you don't need to obtain any copyright of anything like that, because who would you be going to copyright it to? Anyone who copyrighted that, most likely they went to like the U.S. Patent Office, and we don't recognize that as an authority on our land. Those are some administrative clerks. That's about all they are here. It's not outright commercial mercenaries. So to answer your question, where you go from there is this: the name change and judicial proclamation. If you look on the judicial proclamation, the whole proclamation is jurisdictional, is the invocation of personam jurisdiction. Okay? That is the information that you want to use to tell them that even though they held you and all of that, you don't talk about them holding you, because that's subject matter. The issue is they never had jurisdiction over you in the first place.
Right.
Okay. And so you want to start where jurisdiction is concerned. Study personam jurisdiction. Study the judicial proclamation, which is the document that goes along with the name change document when you first nationalize. It's two documents when you first nationalize. One is the name change, the other is the judicial proclamation. Study those two documents so that you can invoke personam jurisdiction where all of that stuff that they're talking about is concerned. Okay? And that way, you will know how to, just a moment, because there's a lot of noise in that background. Just a moment.
Okay.
You want to invoke personam jurisdiction, and they don't have jurisdiction over the Moors, and they know that. And so study personam jurisdiction, and then respond to, and you're not really responding, we rebut on the public record what they say by invoking jurisdiction.
You need to also, that's number one, you're going to invoke personam jurisdiction. That's number one. Number two, you're going to make sure that you terminate all corporate contracts on the public record.
Let me definitely write that down.
Yes. And when you terminate all corporate contracts, you're terminating the contract with the birth certificate, you're terminating the contract with the social security number, the nom de guerre, because they cannot charge. Listen, this is the part that all Moors need to know. When we are in propria persona sui juris, they can't even charge us with anything. It's only.
I'm sorry.
Let me finish that statement right there, and then you can come on in, nobility. The only people that they have the jurisdiction and the system to charge is a nom de guerre, a war name. There's a reason why the birth certificates have capital letters on them, because they cannot talk to you otherwise. When you're using all lowercase letters, they can't speak to you.
Mm.
And it might sound like they're calling your appellation, but they're not. They're speaking in all capital letters because that's the only thing they can speak to is the dead, not the living.
Islam.
And that's why, go ahead, the noble who was asking the question, let me let him finish as well.
Okay. Yes.
Did that answer the question? So do you have those two things at minimum?
I have the terminate corporate contracts written down, and studying personam
juris. Yes. And look at the name change and judicial proclamation documents. Do you have those two? Because really, those two are on the moorishamericanconsulate.org website. When you click on nationality, those documents are there. You can copy and paste those documents into another affidavit invoking personam jurisdiction and telling them they don't have jurisdiction over you. Okay? But you have to study it so you can stand on it. Standing on it means you know that when, like I said before, sometime in a few months back, it's been about three or four months back, they were coming here every day attempting to contract with someone who would claim to be a citizen. And because we know we're not citizens here, we didn't even bother to answer the door. I just sat in the window and watched them. And there was nothing they could do because we don't have any contracts with them. But we had to post that on the public record. And the reason we put things on the public record, all Moors, listen carefully, the reason we put things on the public record is because they are public servants and subjects. The word public means servant. They are to check the public record because they're derelict in their duty. They're supposed to check the public record. That's what it's for them to look at it and say, oh, we got... They're supposed to say, hold on just a moment. They're to say, oh, we need to check the public record before we go to this domicile or wherever we're going. We need to check the public record because that's all they do when they pull people over and they go back to their conveyance and start checking things. They're checking the public record there too. Yes. And when we terminate all corporate contracts on the public record, and then we don't sign any more contracts after that, okay, because that's important. A lot of times Moors will terminate corporate contracts, but then they'll say they're the authorized representative of a nom de guerre. You're not that. You're not that. Because that's recontracting after you said you don't contract with them. We stop contract with them, and then we stay stopped. That's been the issue where people say, oh, that doesn't work. It worked until you changed it with your words. So don't change it. Continuously stay invoking personam jurisdiction with them. And you're not even talking to them. Stand on your square. You're not even talking to them. You're just putting it out there that on the public record, hey, all public servants, I ain't got no contract with you. None. And that's what this call was about in the beginning when Justice Marcel went over the document that you saw on the screen. The document on the screen specifies specifically, if I can say that we don't have contracts with them. And that's something, again, that Justice Marcel did while he was being detained. They can't keep you after that. They have to set you free. Mm-hmm. You have rebutted all enjoinder. You told them that you do not consent to any inducement to fraud. All of that. So, Justice Marcel, for those who are on the judiciary, because we have several judiciary members, Supreme Judiciary members on the call, all of you Moors who are in the territories of the Supreme Judiciaries, they will have this document that Justice Marcel, that's up on the screen, that he wrote out, that we read to get this started. They will have the document and they can forward it to you as well. Okay?
Yes, I also need that document too so that I can study that.
What territory are you in? And I'll tell you who can get that to you.
Pittsburgh. I don't necessarily know other than Pittsburgh.
Okay, that would be anyone in either that would be Empress Fatima, Justice Fatima, or it can be Justice Brandy or Justice Demetrius. They're all in that same corridor, and so any of them can get that document to you. Okay, and for those who are in the West, I can get that document to you, or the Portland Territory can get it to you as well. And also Empress Imara for those who are in Canaan land, on all of Canaan land. Empress Imara is holding that all the way down, and so she can get that to you too. Islam. For those in South, Justice Juramore, Justice Marcel will be getting it to the judiciary, and will be, so that everybody can get it. And then we're also going to post it on social media, so it'll be in the file section of Northeast. If, once we, Empress Fatima gets it, it can be posted to Northeast. I usually just upload it straight onto Facebook and give you a snapshot of the page so that you can recreate it yourself.
Yes.
That way everybody can see it, for those who don't necessarily have email right away or anything. Okay? Are there any other questions? And ma'am is British. Mr. Do not let anyone call you Mr. or Mrs. or Sir or ma'am. Don't let them call you that, because that is British. We're Americans. They will say that in a heartbeat, and they taught us to say that because they wanted us to get that programming in our head so that we would never get out from under that thing that we're out from under now. Islam. Are there any other questions? Any other issues?
Islam, this is Rebecca.
Islam, we'll take one more. This will be the one. We'll take this one. This is the last one.
Oh, Islam, I have a question too. Go ahead, Rebecca.
Islam.
Yes, about the three documents, that was three separate documents that you read at the very beginning of the call.
They're all one, really. Kind of all
Are they
one,
all
really.
One? Okay, they had different titles.
They did.
I thought, and I didn't know what the second one was called. Because when you
Islam.
said, I couldn't see the heading.
Let me go back and see. I'll tell you what they are. And I'll put it. Actually, let's put it back on the screen. Can you see it on the screen, Empress?
Yes.
Okay, that's the first one, affidavit to correct the record.
Right.
The second one is a notice of status and standing.
Okay.
Okay, and I really love in this that he said, my silence is never consent. If I'm not addressed properly, I'm under no obligation to respond. We really need to integrate that into all that we say and do, for sure. And that we do not consent to inducements to fraud. And then the third document is honorable clarification.
Islam, thank you. I yield.
Islam, thank you, Empress. And thank you to Justice Marcel. He's just brilliant. I tell you, he's brilliant. He is brilliant.
Islam, Empress, if I may.
Yes.
I just would like to state that it's also important to stand on our square when they are speaking, or even in letter when they're communicating with us, when they want to go straight to subject matter. We let them know we are not discussing subject matter until we address personam jurisdiction. There's no way we can get past that. Let's not discuss subject matter until we address personam jurisdiction. I am a Moorish American national. State your name and nationality on the record for the record.
Islam. That is so important that it's just absolutely like we must get that piece. And what they will do sometimes is say, well, we're discussing subject matter right now, so we have here blah, 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 blah. And at that point, they're not even talking to us. So at that point, we can just state the personam jurisdiction statement and then stand mute after that.
Islam.
Once you invoke personam jurisdiction, that's it. Islam, Noble. Go ahead.
Islam. This is Malik Charlotte Dowda L from Canaanland.
Islam.
And Islam. Just to go back in terms of applications, for work and so forth, just because I'm going back to work, and as far as applications going through that process right now, I just want to make sure, because I was thinking about this earlier actually, in terms of, the taxes and so forth that comes out of pay and how to go about pay now that we're the creditor and we're the creditor of our NOM DE GUERRE. How do we go about that?
Well, we are the creditors to, not the NOM DE GUERRE, because that's the fraud. We're not the creditor to the NOM DE GUERRE. The NOM DE GUERRE is nothing but debt. What we're doing is this. The NOM DE GUERRE is anything with capital letters, okay? We don't use capital letters. We use the resource is all lowercase letters. Okay. I'm not sure if that background noise is coming in.
Oh,
I'm not sure where it's coming from.
Let me just mute.
That's okay. Okay. Thank you. So the resource is anything on our land is a resource. Okay. That's number one. Number two, when you're talking about a NOM DE GUERRE, we don't use NOM DE GUERRE because that's a war name. We know that by using all lowercase letters, it changes the spelling and the definition.
Okay.
So everything that we do is going to be in lowercase letters. From this point forward, everything that we say and do is in lowercase letters. That is an automatic invocation of sovereignty. And when you do that, and even if you use the name that your parents gave you out of ignorance or love, actually, if it's in all lowercase letters and you say, that's not me, that's the resource, that's the sovereign resource. But it's only sovereign because a sovereign in propria persona sui juris is using it. So we don't use that as our name. That doesn't cover us. We say in propria persona sui juris, and we say, just like anything else, if we say this conveyance is a resource, conveyance will be in all lowercase letters. Okay, Pauline Denise Ritchie in all lowercase letters, that's not me, that's a resource. I'm the source because I'm in propria persona sui juris. So when you're filling out job applications, you don't fill out the job application. You give them a sovereign, original, indigenous, universal, gold-backed affidavit that says you are using this resource and that they are a resource. And then anything that they ask for on the application, You put it on affidavit and you put it in allodial terms. You don't have a name. You don't have an address. All of that stuff is designed to pull you into that trust, the set of KV trust that is busted and broke and needs a sandwich from you. Okay?
Okay.
So affidavit, we speak by affidavit. Islam.
Okay. Islam.
And that's for anyone who's using any type of resource, whether it be Social Security, VA, whomever. Whenever you speak to them, all lowercase letters, sign it in red, all of that, and keep it in allodial, original, indigenous, sovereign terms all day, every day. Noble, go ahead if there's some other part of that you wanted to reference.
Yes, Empress. So my next question was as far as, okay, so we dealt with the application, doing the affidavit, and as well as putting everything in lower case letters. There's something else that you were talking about just after the application. I'm trying to jog my memory right now.
Go ahead.
We're all just talking about it.
Mm-hmm. Was it that you do not consent to inducement to fraud and all of that? Was it part of that?
Yes, it was a part of that. You know what? I'll come back to you once it once it comes right back to me. And then, but thank you very much for that information.
You're welcome.
And Islam. Thank you.
Islam. We're going to go ahead and end the call here because we're right at 2 hours and we don't want to go over the 2-hour mark. More, we'll be back again next week for more remedy, for more resources, for more of everything. The ancestors are making it so that we are able to access our estate, but we must do it competently. And as long as we're competent and we're all speaking with one voice, using the same letterhead, et cetera, then we're good. Go to those in your territory, the justices in your territory. Now remember, you all are justices too, and just as sovereign, okay, as any of us. They are a resource in your territories as well. So, and they will have this document so that you can send the document, Justice Marcel's document, as well as the letterhead and all of that, Islam. And with that, we say Islam, and we'll be back again in unity next week on Thursday. Grand rising to the Moors.
Grand rising.
Grand rising.
Grand rising.
Peace and love, everyone.
Islam.
Peace and love.
Islam. Send that energy. Peace and love.
Grand rising.
Islam. Absolutely. Islam. Grand rising.
Long live the
Grand
empire,
rising.
Moors.
That's it. Long live the empire. That's it. Grand rising.
I mean, good night, everyone.
Grand rising. Grand rising, Empress.
Grand rising.
Yes.
Wow.
Islam. Boy, that's some powerful energy. Woo!
Light.
I love it.
Islam. I do too. I love it.
Islam,
beautiful Empress. There you go. You don't pop on until the end of the call, but it's always great to see you. You always look amazing. Islam.
All right.
Islam, Empress.
I stayed to the very end so that I can just get the names of the people in the West Territory, Pittsburgh or something like that.
Yes, that's Portland Territory, Portland, Oregon Territory, which is Justice Hassan, Amir Hassan L. He's west as well, and they have quite a few justices down there in that territory. And then there's also light to jury Bay in west as well.
Who is the justice in Virginia territory?
Are you in Virginia, Empress?
I am.
Then you're it. What you mean? What do you mean? Who suggested you?
Islam, I'm also in Virginia territory, Michelle Talbot Bay.
Islam, we got 2 justices in Virginia. Do y'all want to swap information? You need to connect.
Because I feel
okay,
like
so Empress, tell her. Yes. Okay, tell her your information, or y'all exchange emails or whatever. Right now, you can do it right now if you want to do it right now.
Okay, my email, is this your name, Micaiah L. Bay? Is this you, sis?
Nefertari.
Okay, Nefertari. I am Michelle Talbot Bay. My phone number is 703-357-5642. My email address, ppswc@yahoo.com.
Did you hear her, Empress?
Yes.
Perfect.
Okay, and I just need to pull your information really quick before we close off.
You said PPSWC
at yahoo.com. And I see your name up here. Do you want to leave your number, or I'll just email you and you can exchange it with me. Nefertari Bay 72
at Gmail.
Gmail. Okay. Islam. Looking forward to it.
Yes.
Well, now we have justices in Virginia.
Will you be going to that challenge February 6th with the Albions that's challenging you?
That's challenging who?
You. There's something like, in the YouTube out there where they, trying to slander at you with the noble L.
Oh, no.
I know you ain't going to get caught up with all that, right?
I haven't even heard about it, and we don't have time for that because we're nation building.
To let you know, because they're looking for you to come on and discuss what you're doing out here as a Moor against them. They scared of y'all. They scared.
I'll be
doing my little investigation, peeking in. I said, I hope she don't even get it. I know people telling you about these people. They trying, the Albions are real nervous right now. They are up in arms. They're scared to death.
Well, they've been comfortable long enough. They've been comfortable long enough on our state. We don't even entertain that because the Moors are waking up and they require our energy to assist.
That is
true. And we're assisting one another.
So I wanted to know.
Okay.
Because the guy that used to come on the show with your free conference, he's a part of that whole charade. That's why I was saying that. The Albion that used to come on and make all that noise on his shows. Islam.
You're muted, Empress. We can't hear you, Light.
I think she disconnected. I think it was done. I think she's gone.
Okay. Islam. We'll see you next week, inshallah.
All right.
Peace and love.
Peace and love.
Peace and love.